It was a Thursday evening, the kind that smelled like reheated pasta and tired conversations. The TV hummed low in the background while the last of the sun bled through the blinds. I stood at the kitchen counter, my hands wrist-deep in dishwater, when I heard her voice from the hallway. "Mom," she called. I turned, smiling. "Yeah, baby." She was standing there, my daughter, Mia, 16, wearing ripped jeans and confidence like perfume. Her phone was glued to her hand, her expression distracted and sharp. "Can you not wear that dress tomorrow?" "Please?" I blinked. "What's wrong with it?" She hesitated, then sighed in that teenage way that always felt like thunderclouds. "It just looks old. Like you." And just like that, time slowed. Her words didn't slice, they sank. Like stones dropped into deep water, settling heavy in places I didn't know could still hurt. "Oh," I said softly, forcing a smile. "I didn't realize it bothered you," she shrugged. "It doesn't bother me. It's just, you don't have to try so hard, you know? It's weird when moms do." Then she was gone, door closing, music starting, laughter echoing through the thin walls as if nothing had happened. But I stood there, frozen, hands trembling in the dishwater, heart echoing that one word, old. I'd always known I was aging, of course. The mirror had whispered it in fine lines and tired eyes. But hearing it from her, the little girl I once rocked to sleep, made it feel like an obituary. I turned off the water, leaned on the counter, and let silence swallow me whole. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at the edge of my bed, staring at the framed photos on my dresser. There was one of us at the beach. Mia, 5 years old, hair tangled by the wind, her tiny hands clutching my neck as we laughed into the camera. I looked young in that picture, not just in face, but in light. Back then, I didn't hide from mirrors. Now I avoided them like enemies. At 42, my life was predictable in its quietness. I worked as a receptionist at a dental clinic, paid bills on time, packed lunches, and existed in the spaces between everyone else's needs. Mia's father, my ex-husband Daniel, had remarried 2 years ago. His new wife was a yoga instructor with perfect posture and an Instagram following. Mia adored her. That part stung more than I cared to admit. Sometimes, I'd scroll through social media and see pictures of Daniel and the new family at concerts or brunches. Mia looked radiant beside them, her smile wide and easy. I told myself it was okay, that I wanted her to be happy, even if that happiness didn't always include me. But that one comment, "You're old," rattled something deep inside. I walked to the bathroom and stared into the mirror. The woman staring back looked like me, but quieter. Her shoulders slumped from years of holding everyone else up. Her eyes carried stories no one had time to hear, and beneath the tiredness, there was grief. Not for youth, but for everything I'd given away without realizing it. I whispered to the reflection, "When did you disappear?" No answer. Just the hum of the refrigerator down the hall, the world continuing without permission. That night, I made a silent promise to myself. I would find her again, the woman I was before I became everyone else's caretaker. Saturday morning arrived with sunlight and silence. Mia slept late, her room a fortress of teenage chaos, clothes on the floor, half-empty cups of bubble tea on her desk. I brewed coffee, sat by the window, and opened a notebook I hadn't touched in years. The cover was cracked leather, pages filled with poetry I used to write before life became logistics. I flipped through the old ink, tracing the words like touching ghosts. There was one line I'd written in my 20s. "A woman's heart is a home built on the edge of the sea. Always beautiful. Always in danger of being washed away." I closed my eyes and smiled sadly. That afternoon, Mia came downstairs dressed for a party. Short denim skirt, glossed lips, and the same perfume I used to wear when I was her age. "You look beautiful," I said gently. "Thanks," she muttered, avoiding my eyes. "Who's going?" I asked. "Just friends?" "Don't wait up." Something in her tone made me pause. "Mia, I trust you. But please text me when you get there, okay?" "Mom, you worry too much." She grabbed her bag and headed out. I stood by the door long after it closed, heart tight with that familiar ache of letting go. But that night, the ache turned to panic. It was midnight when the phone rang. "Unknown number, Mrs. Sanders?" a man's voice asked. "This is Officer Nguyen from the 12th Precinct. Your daughter's okay, but..." The rest blurred. Party, noise complaint, alcohol, police. I threw on a jacket and drove through the night, heart pounding louder than the rain on the windshield. When I got there, Mia sat on the curb, mascara smudged, eyes wide and scared. "Mom," she whispered as I knelt beside her, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel old. I felt needed. The rain hadn't stopped. It drummed softly on the car roof as we drove in silence, streetlights flickering across Mia's tear-streaked face. I gripped the steering wheel tighter than necessary. My mind was a storm. Fear, anger, relief, all tangled into one breathless night. "I didn't drink that much," she said suddenly, her voice small. I glanced at her. "You're 16, Mia. Any is too much." She looked out the window, jaw clenched. "You don't understand. Everyone does it." "I do understand," I said, softer. "But not everyone ends up in the back of a police car because they followed everyone else." That landed heavier than I meant it to. Her shoulders curled in. The rest of the drive was quiet, except for the rhythm of rain and regret between us. When we got home, she went straight to her room without a word. I stood in the hallway, soaked and shaking, the smell of damp clothes and worry filling the air. I wanted to yell, to ground her, to cry. But all I could do was whisper to the silence, "Where did we lose each other?" The next morning, the house was still. Mia hadn't come down for breakfast, and the guilt in my chest was unbearable. I brewed coffee and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the steam twisting upward, like everything I wanted to say but couldn't. When she finally appeared, her eyes were red but defiant. "I'm sorry," she said quickly before I could speak. "You don't have to give me a lecture." "I already know. Mia," I started, but she cut me off. "You always make everything about how disappointed you are." "I get it. I messed up." I stood and walked around the table, stopping in front of her. "I'm not disappointed in you, honey. I'm scared for you." She looked up, confused. "When you were little, you'd hold my hand in parking lots because you trusted me to see danger before you did," I said softly. "Somewhere along the way, you stopped trusting that." She swallowed hard. "You think I'm old?" I continued, my voice trembling. "But the truth is I'm just tired. Tired of trying to hold on while you pull away. Tired of pretending it doesn't hurt." Mia's lip quivered. "I didn't mean what I said that night." "I know," I whispered. "But you still did." She broke then. Tears spilling over, body shaking as she fell into my arms. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The clock ticked softly, like the world was giving us permission to start again. That weekend, something shifted. Mia started helping in small ways. Washing dishes, folding laundry, lingering a little longer in the kitchen when I cooked. It wasn't much, but it was something. One night, she came to my room holding an old photo album. "Can we look through these?" she asked. We sat on the bed, pages crackling beneath our fingers. There were pictures of birthday cakes, vacations, and messy hair mornings. In one photo, I was twirling her in the backyard, sunlight spilling across both our faces. "You look happy," she said softly. "I was," I replied. "You made me happy," she hesitated. "You still have that dress? The one you said looked old?" I teased, her cheeks flushed. "Yeah," I nodded. "It's in the closet." She got up, pulled it out, and held it against the light. "It's actually kind of pretty." "It's from when I used to go dancing with your dad," I said, smiling faintly. "Before life got complicated." She looked at me with new eyes, then really looked. "Mom, I didn't realize how much you gave up." I reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You don't owe me for that. Just promise me you won't lose yourself trying to fit into someone else's world." That's a mistake I made too many times. Months passed. Seasons shifted. Our relationship didn't heal overnight. Real things never do. But slowly, laughter started returning to the house. Mia began inviting me to her art shows, asking for advice, even borrowing my clothes sometimes. The first time she did, I laughed so hard I nearly cried. One morning, she caught me getting ready for work and said, "Mom, you look really nice today." I turned, half expecting sarcasm, but she smiled. That soft, genuine smile I hadn't seen since she was 10. "Thanks," I said, brushing my hair behind my ear. Later that week, I wore the dress again. Not to prove anything, just because it made me feel alive. When I stepped out of the house, the morning sun hit the fabric just right, and for the first time in years, I didn't think about being old or invisible. I thought about being here. Still learning, still growing, still loving. Because sometimes it takes being called old to remember you've lived enough to be wise, and sometimes it takes losing your daughter's words to finally find your own.